neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone Eli and Gerhard Mathangani.
Notre Dame's first football season was back in 1887. Auburn's first football season was 5 years later, in 1892. Somehow, some way, these programs have never met on the football field. Well, that will change. Breaking news out today, Auburn and Notre Dame have scheduled a home-and-home matchup, 26 and 27. You see there in 2026, it'll be in South Bend. And on the Plains in 2027. This is a really interesting scheduling standpoint. As we know, the College Football Playoff Committee have tweaked their rules a little bit as far as the way that they will be able to seed the teams moving forward in future college football playoff tournaments, and also the SEC moving to a 9-game schedule with one extra Power 4 team or Notre Dame on the schedule. Auburn will play Notre Dame coming up in the future. Welcome to Southeast Sports Plus. Gerhard Mathangani, Patrick Walsh with you. Patrick, this news landed just moments ago, and we were like, first it was kind of jarring because what we have seen here recently are teams break away from these games, and now Auburn is scheduling one.
Yeah, I am a little bit intrigued by this matchup. I almost feel like Notre Dame has everything to lose by playing Auburn. That's no offense to Auburn, but who knows what the Tigers are going to look like next year. They got to find a new coach. Who knows who's going to be the next head coach after? Because it feels like they still have to go through the pecking order of the SEC and finding their coach and stuff like that. But definitely interesting. Mainly the fact that they've never played each other.
Yeah.
I mean, that was shocking to me. When I saw the push notification came through, I was like, really? I mean, these are two old programs.
Right.
And you just never found a way to just run into each other in like a bowl game or something.
That was my thing. Like no bowl game, no out of conference game at all. Like none of that.
I mean, it really is just shocking. But yeah, breaking news literally came out 20 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure it was just about 20 minutes ago that Auburn and Notre Dame schedule a home-and-home series, 2026, be in South Bend. That'll be a good test for whoever is the next head coach of the Auburn Tigers, and they'll get their first test right there and then in 2027 on the Plains. So, Gerhard, what do you think about this matchup? Do you agree with basically like what I'm saying is like Notre Dame has everything to lose, Auburn has everything to win?
Right. No, 100%. Auburn has everything to win in this, and Notre Dame has everything to lose. I do think that when that game is in Auburn, it will draw a very, very good crowd. So I think if you're Auburn, there's another big, huge factor with this. But also, and Pete Thamel reported this, I want to give him credit.
Yes.
He said it talks about this series also factored into Auburn's decision to move that Baylor game to a neutral site. So remember,
I was wondering about that.
Yes, so that the Auburn-Baylor game, I think a lot of people were scratching their heads, us included, or myself included at least, of why move that game to Atlanta. I saw a little bit of the rationale. Some of it was also because of NIL money that was potentially going to be able to be available for the student athletes for Auburn into that matchup. Well, if you know down the pipe that you're going to play Notre Dame in a home game, in a true home game, that does give you leverage for a Baylor game where you can now move it. So now, to me, clarify, rationalize the decision to move the Baylor game to Atlanta, because you can probably more than recoup what you would get for that game day experience there with Notre Dame in. So obviously the news, it would make more sense if it was flipped, if we learned about the Auburn-Notre Dame series first and then we learned about the news to move the Baylor game. But it does kind of crystallize it a little bit for me.
And honestly, we're going to get into the college football playoff rankings here in just a minute, but it just feels like Notre Dame, if they lose this game, it doesn't really help. That's not really a resume booster, whereas, if they did go on to beat Texas A&M again this year, that could have been a huge resume booster.
Absolutely.
Put them in the college football playoff, no question. But it's definitely interesting for me. I'm going to stick with it. This is a big win for Auburn and a major loss for Notre Dame, I feel like. It's just because what happens if you do lose these games? I mean, and then down the stretch, who knows what Auburn's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just I'm sorry, Curt Cignetti. Like, Curt Cignetti made expectations unrealistic
Yeah.
for someone's just going to come in and just fix the program overnight.
Right.
You have to expect there to be at least 1 to 2 years of transition for a new coach, get his guys in, his recruits, stuff like that, be able to settle himself in on the plains.
Right.
So you can't really expect Auburn to be in the college football playoff conversations next year.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost makes you wonder if Notre Dame were to lose these games.
Right.
That's a major tank.
It's huge. Yeah, it is huge. And I think the reason for Notre Dame to be able to put Auburn on the schedule is to basically boast that we have another SEC opponent on our schedule. We have a home-and-home connection. And who knows, this game might end up like the Texas A&M Notre Dame game earlier this year, where it's a new coach or a relatively new coach. I know Elko's going into his second season. It's a relatively new coach at Auburn at the time. It will be something similar. And then you have a situation to me where you can say that you could pump your chest out, say, if this is Notre Dame talking now, pump your chest out, say, hey, we played at SEC school, and then just kind of hope that Auburn, goes, 10 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins. You can bolster that on your record as well. So to me, I find this one really, really interesting, and it should be a fan favorite at the very least, because Notre Dame certainly does draw a crowd. Speaking of Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish are in the top 10 of the latest college football playoff committee rankings. We got the first taste of it yesterday. It mirrors a lot of what we've seen from the AP poll, and the AP poll has not moved very much over the last month or so. And the college football playoff poll, we thought there might be some tweaks. For the most part, in the top 5, it remains the same.
Yeah, and the SEC did get 6 teams in the top 12, but that we have to clarify, that doesn't mean that they have 6 teams in the playoff right now.
Right.
It's just in the top 12 of the rankings, because you have to account for the ACC champion, which I believe is outside of the top 12. I don't believe their projected ACC champion is in there, and then obviously the group of 5. So let's roll right into the top 25 rankings. We'll start from 25 on down. Tennessee, I mean, they're out of it at this point. But at number 24, I feel like Pittsburgh and Washington are the 2 teams, in my opinion. Well, actually, Pittsburgh, Washington, and Michigan are 3 teams that honestly could sneakily move their way up and make the playoff. We were talking about it yesterday. Pittsburgh still got Notre Dame.
That's right.
They still have Miami, and they still have Georgia Tech on their schedule. If they win all 3, I feel like you got to make the argument.
You got to put them in. You're exactly right. And Michigan, they still have Northwestern, Maryland, and Ohio State. So I think you're spot on. I think that if Michigan runs the table and if Pitt runs the table, their resume will be good enough to be able to get themselves in. And you were right about the ACC, the projected ACC champions, Virginia. Yeah. They're in the top 15 there as well. But no, you're right. There are a few teams, like, for example, you said it on the onset, Tennessee is stuck. They're out. I mean, 25 might be the best ranking they get, barring some chaos above them, but they're out of the playoff. But the other teams that we just mentioned right there, outside of Missouri, because I think they're out as well.
I think so too.
They all do have basically an engine tank behind them that they can rock it up a little bit.
Yeah, and I seriously think we'll get into. We were just talking about Notre Dame. Pittsburgh can play spoiler for Notre Dame then jumpstart their own hopes to the college football playoff. But we'll move right along here. Iowa, who the Hawkeyes were not ranked in the AP poll.
That's right.
They're 20th. Here in the College Football Committee ranking.
Yeah, this was another one where I know the people that were on the set there when the polls were released, and a lot of college football fans in general, were waiting to see the differences and the similarities between the first committee rankings poll and the AP poll. Because the AP poll, keep in mind, it starts in the preseason, and then materializes throughout the year. So we were wondering how much differences there will be. This was probably the biggest difference, that Iowa is a top 20 football team and essentially number 26 in the AP poll, because they're not ranked, but just sitting right outside of it, giving the Hawkeyes a lot of credit. And the Hawkeyes obviously still have some big games left on their schedule there as well. So I was actually, really surprised by that. USC there as well. How about the Miami Hurricanes? A couple of losses.
They're gone. In my opinion, I think 18 is generous.
Oh, me too.
18 is very generous.
Me too. Considering their 2 losses, I know they're sandwiched in there with the teams with a bunch of 2 losses, but they're right there in that mix. And one of the biggest surprises to me was Georgia Tech. How far they have fallen, considering they're a 1-loss team.
Yeah, I just think the NC State loss. At this point, you got to win the ACC to make it in if you're Georgia Tech.
Right.
I mean, you had it right in front of you, but then you lose to NC State. And I know NC State does have a win over Louisville this year already.
Right.
But the thing is, You just cannot lose. And I think NC State's 5-3 or 3-5.
Yes,
I can't remember.
yeah, they're 3-5 right now.
3-5.
They're one win in the conference is Georgia Tech.
You cannot justify that. Or sorry, the Louisville loss came to Virginia.
Correct.
You can't justify making the college football playoff if you're going to lose to 3-5 NC State when there's just so many other teams in the mix.
Oh, sorry, correction. North Carolina's 3-5. They are NC State is now 5-4.
Gotcha.
That was their fifth win on Saturday. That was their fifth win and second win there in the ACC. But still, you can't have that on your resume. And the committee punished them accordingly. There you see the other teams that are in the upper echelon of the ACC in the top 15. Louisville and the projected ACC winner, Virginia, is 14. So that lets you know what the committee thinks of the ACC. One loss, Georgia Tech, outside of the top 15. Your projected champion, Virginia, at number 14. Louisville there at number 15. So not a lot of love there for the ACC, or, in my opinion, accurately punishing those football teams. Meanwhile, Utah coming in at number 13, Oklahoma 12. And you and I, we were watching this, and as more ACC teams crept up there, we were like, is Texas going to be a top 12 football team? And yet they are.
Yeah, I feel like the committee is giving them credit for playing in the SEC. Yeah, the Florida loss was bad, but honestly, if you look at some of the other teams up there, you couldn't put Oklahoma over them because they beat Oklahoma.
Right.
They beat Oklahoma. Utah, you play in the Big 12. I'm sorry, Big 12 people. Your conference isn't great. And then Louisville and Virginia. You're only going to get one out of the ACC because, honestly, yeah, Florida is, third to last in the SEC this year.
Right.
I don't remember who's third to last in the ACC, but you can't tell me.
Right.
I'm just going to say Boston College. You cannot tell me Florida is losing to Boston College. I'm sorry.
Right. You would have no hope. No shot. No shot at even making a run there. Inside the top 10 now we go. Wow. It is Notre Dame, the team that we just talked about, going to play Auburn in a future home-and-home series. The big shocker, I think, for a lot of people was Oregon.
Yeah.
They're at number 9.
I don't know about this one. I mean, I can see it because if you do look at the resume, their best win is at Penn State, who was number 3 at the time. Obviously, we've seen how that has panned out.
Yep.
It went into overtime. It was the whiteout game, but their worst loss, their only loss, was at home to Indiana, 30-20. The remaining schedule to me is a little bit interesting because I think if they were to win out, they probably move up to no higher than 7th, in my opinion.
Okay, yeah. So they don't jump. So of all the one-loss teams that are out there, you don't think they don't jump Alabama, they don't jump Georgia, and they don't jump Ole Miss and Texas Tech.
The only
considering who.
I think we were talking about it. The BYU Texas Tech game is one of the most important games of the whole season.
No question. Yeah, because Texas Tech will have 2 losses they were to lose.
They'll jump the loser. And that's why I think maybe 8th.
Right. So they'll jump the loser even if it's BYU and that's their first
Whoever
loss.
wins that Big 12 game is winning out.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then Ole Miss there, I feel like the top 6 is just going to stay the same. Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M, Indiana, and Ohio State.
That is interesting. Let's go back to Oregon for just a second here because that one to me is really interesting as they move forward because this Oregon team to me – there's not a game that stands out in your mind.
No.
Literally only the game that does is the one they lost.
Yeah.
Because they haven't played anybody really.
Yeah, and the biggest question coming into that game was, well, Indiana can't beat anybody. They could never beat anybody under Curt Cignetti. And then Curt Cignetti was like, here, go ahead and Google me. Now I actually can beat somebody. And now they just can't stop blowing out teams. But it's just, I really don't see Oregon moving up past 8. I just really don't.
So the 8th seed, let's just say that for convenience sake, let's say they get the 8th seed. The 8th seed will have to go on the road. Is that the final home?
That's the final. They play the 9th seed.
Yeah, the final home playoff spot. So in a perfect world, they'll still get a home playoff game.
Right.
They can still play for a home playoff game if that is their goal. To obviously
they'll play the loser of the Big 12, the first Big 12 championship this weekend.
Right. So basically, let's just say,
which I believe is going to be Texas Tech.
Yeah, so let's say Texas Tech wins that game, hands BYU their first loss of the season. So you're saying that...
Oh, no, I'm saying Texas Tech's going to lose to BYU.
Oh, okay, so Texas Tech will lose to BYU. Yeah. All right, so
and
BYU
they'll host Texas Tech.
Okay.
That's just my take on it.
I got you. Pretty cool. Pretty cool there. And we got a chance to hear from Kevin Elko talking about his time peaking as the Aggies right now in the top 3?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And somebody asked me that last week too, like in terms of the peaking part, like it's such a hard thing to gauge. You know, you certainly don't go into the season when you look at, okay, we got to go to South Bend in week 3. We're going to identify week 9 as, you know, when we want to peak. I think you're trying to push this growth mindset in your program that, you know, we've got to come out of the blocks ready to go. You know, no team is their best version in the start of the season. You want to really be a team that grows every single week and really understand that the best teams and the teams that are standing at the end get significantly better as the year goes on. And, you know, and then hopefully get into this month of November where, you know, everything's at stake and you understand the urgency of that better maybe than we did last year, and you continue to see that growth through the month of November, which then I think leads to people talking about, oh, it looks like they're peaking, but I think it really kind of just step ladders all the way through the season if you do it the right way.
Good stuff there. Continuing here on Southeast Sports Plus, we have a great guest lineup, including our first guest today. It is Mariah Ross out of Spartanburg, South Carolina. Stay with us. You'll hear from her next. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus here on a Wednesday, and we always love checking in with our favorite aunt on the show, Mariah Ross out of Spartanburg, South Carolina. We were talking about the weather earlier. It's starting to feel like fall weather here in the Mobile, Alabama area. It's starting to feel chilly for you guys as well. How is the overall football season treating you, college and high school?
High school is going a lot better than college. I will say that. We're very into the high school season. I think, honestly, including NFL, that's probably the best part of this football season for me so far, being a Saints fan. You know, it's been pretty brutal on all fronts. And then obviously with Clemson and South Carolina, the way that they're playing right now is not much to look forward to. But we love some high school football. We love a Friday night.
100%. And a point of inquiry, how did you become a Saints fan? You grew up out in Cali, and now you're out there close to the Panthers.
Well, so I grew up in a Raider family. And when I was around 9 or 10, I realized that was not a life to live. And so I ended up choosing the Saints because I really fell in love with Reggie Bush. And then obviously Drew Brees, all the guys there. So that's how it started.
Okay. You know, I wish I realized that the Cowboy fan life is not a life to live pretty early on. But unfortunately, I'm stuck in it.
My dad is a Cowboy fan, but I knew that one early on as well.
Yeah, I didn't really change.
Great stuff jumping ship off the Raiders. That was a smart move by young Mariah. Very smart move.
Yeah, I had to do it.
Speaking of moves, he had a big one there in South Carolina. We've seen a lot of head coaches get fired over the course of the last month or so, and now an offensive coordinator has been let go. Mike Shula let go from this program after suffering yet another loss What's been the vibe out there offensively? I know at the beginning of the year there was some poop bags and all kinds of weird stuff, and then I saw a soft protest for the students and the offense not really able to get on board. Just crystallize what you have seen over the last few weeks that led to this decision.
Yeah, well, I think we've all just seen the offense really struggle. It started with that offensive line and then just really getting down to the nitty-gritty of it. There's a lot of young receivers, a lot of running backs who have potential, but just not being able to capitalize on opportunities, not being able to finish games the way that they should. And I think that was the big thing that ultimately led to Shula's firing, is just the fact that they've been in games in the fourth quarter and just have a way of, finding a way to lose, kind of shooting themselves in the foot. And so it's been difficult for them, as we've talked about for weeks now. But I think this move at offensive coordinator, they're hoping to find some kind of spark. Beamer actually just announced earlier today that Mike Furry, the wide receiver coach and the passing game coordinator, will now be calling the plays. But he said that it will be a group effort in terms of the game plan week to week.
Absolutely. They always say that it's always, I'm going to make a parallel here. They say it's a little bit harder to go from being rich to not being rich. And then it is obviously like from poor to rich back to poor. So with that said, we were about 9 weeks ago, South Carolina was in the top 10 last year, all the hype, all the fanfare. How disappointing has this season been vis-a-vis the expectations going into the year?
I think it's been extremely disappointing, especially for Beamer, who, like you said, 9-4 last season, his best season as the head coach. And to go from that to now where they are now, 3-6, not having those playoff opportunities that they were expecting, it's been extremely disappointing for everyone involved. There are a lot of freshmen who joined this program hoping to find the same success they found last season, obviously not finding it. For guys like Lenora Sellers, who had such a great season last year and just not really playing up to his standard. And there's obviously a number of reasons for that, but it's been overall extremely disappointing for this program, a program that we were expecting to elevate in this season after what they were able to do last year.
Absolutely. What's the message for Coach Shane Beamer and this team as they now move forward? Obviously, they can, I guess, play a little bit of spoiler down the line for a couple of teams. But what is their mentality, their mindset as they try to close the season off on a strong note?
The hope is to play spoiler and hopefully reach a bowl game. Obviously, to do so, they would have to win out. They have Clemson coming up at the end of the season, which is a big rivalry game, one that they want to get back-to-back wins on, of course. Coastal Carolina, the game right before Clemson, but obviously with A&M coming up the week after this Saturday, that's going to be a tough one. So if they could somehow pull the upset there, I think that there's still a very strong chance that they could get a bowl game. But right now they're really just playing for pride and just wanting to see everything come together the way that they expected this season. Shane Beamer just continues to say that they're right there. And he knows that that's frustrating to hear, for the entire fan base, for everyone watching. It's frustrating to hear we're right there, but then not see it play out that way. But when you watch these games, he's not wrong. They're in the fourth quarter in a lot of these games, just not able to close it out. So, playing for pride at this point and hoping to reach a bowl game.
Mariah, I was in attendance this past weekend when
Awesome.
South Carolina played Ole Miss, and it just felt like it was so weird because Shane Beamer, just known for being a special teams guy, the muffed punt and a couple of just interesting plays on special teams. Do you think he's losing the locker room at all, or is the firing of Mike Shula enough to keep him off the hot seat for a little bit?
I don't believe he's losing the locker room. I know there's a lot of guys there who have his back and went there specifically because he is the head coach. He is a very beloved guy around Columbia. I think his seat is warm. We were actually just talking about this up in the sports office. Like I said, a very beloved guy. The ADs love him. The town of Columbia loves him. But it's definitely a time where you're going to have to pick up some wins. And this is the first week really where I felt like his seat was getting warm. In terms of special teams after the game, he did say, he pointed out some guys on defense, some guys on offense that played well. He said nobody on special teams played well. So I thought that was really interesting, the fact that he is just acknowledging that and kind of calling guys out to do better. when it comes to the muff punt, Jalen Kilgore actually said that his hand went numb before that play for some reason. I guess he got rolled up on or something. So, there's a lot of factors and a lot of reasons why they feel they're not playing their best, but I don't believe he's losing the locker room at this point. And I think just making the move with Shula is showing that he is still trying to get this team back to what expectations were coming into the season.
No question about it. Let's flip to something way more positive here. I know the football team has been rough. It's been a rough cover for the last few weeks, but the women's college basketball team has been great, not just opening up this season, but also over the last few. I know they're coming off a loss in the national championship game a year ago, but Coach Daly has built a dynamic program. Still very, very early in the season. Obviously got a win there in the opener. What do you make of the crew this year as the Gamecocks look to get back to a national championship form?
Yeah, well, I think when you have Dawn Staley as your head coach, you always have a chance. We all know she is absolutely phenomenal. And then picking up Tanaya Latson in the portal was absolutely huge for them. We saw she led the team with 20 points the other night, got reunited with her teammate Raven Johnson, and Tessa Johnson in her third year is playing absolutely incredible so far this season. I know it's only been one game, but she was right behind Tanaya with 19 points. And, losing Chloe Kitts before the season started was obviously a big hit for them. And then we got the news that Ashlyn Watkins would be disenrolling. You know what I mean? She would not be at school just to continue her injury rehab. And, they lost a couple people. Obviously, Mylasia Full-Wiley was a huge player for them last year. And so her not being there is a tough thing. But as we saw in the opener, they still have a lot of really incredible players. And I think this team still has a really good shot of making a deep run, if not another championship run.
I saw Full-Wiley had a pretty good game for the Tigers the other night over in Baton Rouge.
She's a pretty good player. Can't deny it.
I feel like when it comes to football, we always talk about, scheduling these tough out-of-conference games. We've seen it this year with the Florida men's basketball team. I believe they play 4 teams out of conference in the top 20 this year. When you look at this South Carolina out-of-conference schedule before they start SEC play, I mean, that's no joke.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, and I think it just builds your repertoire, obviously, when you're going into the tournament. But then, I mean, it prepares you, It's a tough run when you get into the tournament. So, yeah, I mean, that does look pretty tough. But if any team is capable of pulling it out, I would say it's the Gamecocks.
Absolutely. I kind of have a bit of an off-the-wall question for you because Dawn Staley, a couple of weeks ago, I'm not sure if you heard it, but if not, I'll paraphrase it for you and the audience. Dawn Staley talked about women coaching in the NBA. And really, there's only kind of 2 people that I thought that might even be able to do it. It's Dawn Staley and Becky Harmon. And Harmon obviously coached with Coach Popovich with the San Antonio Spurs for a little while. Do you think that would be something that she would even entertain? She had a really great response to it about the reasons why she doesn't think it might happen. But let's just say a door opens up where an owner or a general manager does want to do that. Given what she has been able to do in women's college basketball, do you think that still gives her the hunger and the motivation, or do you think she would entertain in the future, obviously not this year or next year or whatever, but would entertain a challenge like that, coaching the men's side there in the highest level?
I think she probably would. I mean, it would take a lot, and it would take obviously the right situation, but like you said, it's just another challenge. And when you are a coach and when you're a former athlete, you like these challenges and you like to continue to push yourself and push your game and see what you can do. So I don't think she would be closed off to the opportunity. I would just think it has to be the right one. And obviously we saw in the off season with all of that talk, it wasn't the right situation for her and the Knicks, I believe it was.
Yeah, the Knicks was the one.
So, obviously that didn't end up working out, but I don't think it's something that she would necessarily turn down at this point and, just continue to challenge herself and see what she's capable of. She's already established herself as, a Hall of Fame type of coach in college. So it'll be interesting to see, if that is something that happens. I would be very interested to watch it.
Keeping it here with this year's team, what is a realistic projection for Dawn Staley's team? Is it national title game again? Because I know you kind of have to gel all these new faces. I feel like around the SEC, when you look at some of the women's teams, they don't really return a lot of players from last year. It seems like you don't know what you're going to get yet this year. What do you expect out of her team this year?
Right, and I think like I said earlier, losing Chloe Kitts was a big hit.
Yep.
She was an incredible player for them last season. It's the SEC tournament MVP, but I do see them still just being able to make a deep tournament run just because of the pieces that they do have. Now, obviously, their roster is a little bit smaller. They do need all of these players to stay healthy, and that's going to be the key. But if they are able to stay healthy, this is a team that, you know, with girls like Raven Johnson, Tessa Johnson, they have a lot of girls that have returned and, you know, had that experience from the last couple of seasons. So I do think they still have the potential to make a deep run, but staying healthy is going to be the number one thing above all.
Well, the South Carolina Gamecocks are the media's preseason tournament champion, and we'll see if they close out the year at that as well. Mariah, thank you so much for your time here and your insights both on the gridiron and the court.
Thank you. See you next week.
Mariah Ross joining us from Spartanburg, South Carolina. And as soon as the football season is somewhat put to bed, let's see if they can pick up a big win. She talked about playing spoiler. They could do so against Texas A&M kind of coming up in the next couple of weeks of the women's basketball team. Looking to be on a nice run this year.
You know, I think about some of the teams that have already stopped thinking about football. I think of Kentucky. You know, I think of Arkansas on the men's side, and now South Carolina on the women's side. And honestly, probably LSU a little bit too, unless they could play spoiler here this weekend against Alabama. But no, I definitely expect South Carolina to make another deep run in this year. Don't know about national title, but definitely at least Elite Eight is my floor for them.
Absolutely. The LSU women's basketball team is also one of the top teams there in the SEC, projected third right now. We will head out to Baton Rouge and check in with our good friend Chessa Boucher coming up next. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus. First hour continues. We will talk some LSU athletics right now. We say athletics because we'll talk a lot of sports. We'll talk some football, obviously, talk some basketball there as well. Our good friend Chessa Boucher joins us once again. It's been I think the last 3 appearances, one you predicted Brian Kelly would be fired. The next Brian Kelly was fired. And since the last time we talked to you, we've had a governor come out and say the AD is not going to be able to do his job, an AD get fired, a president get hired. Make sense of what all is
there
happened.
anything going on over there?
Yeah.
No, it's just like a regular boring week. I mean, it's just, football season, no big deal, not any drama, it's been like the most Louisiana thing in the past 3 weeks. And what I mean by that is like, you start the season, you have Brian Kelly, one of the, big names in college football, winningest active coach. And then he wins against Clemson, and then less than 2 months later, he's fired before the month of November is even here. LSU's lost 3 out of their last 4. Then, like you said, they fired the athletics director, Scott Woodward, which I was not a big fan of that coming to fruition. I think he has done an exceptional job aside from the Brian Kelly hire, but you're not going to hire every amazing coach. That's not how it works. If it was, we would never have new athletics directors. So I get it. But like you said, the governor came out. He said a lot of things, and it just drove me insane because if you're going to say a lot of things, at least know the facts. And he didn't know the facts, and he kind of looked like a donkey. That's the nicest way to put it. And so he does all of this, and then all the chatter comes about of like, okay, Scott Woodward. Well, then Scott Woodward's gone, and then it's just. So the governor didn't like Scott Woodward because Scott Woodward wouldn't bring Will Wade back. And he made it a point where he was like, no, we need to hire Will Wade back. And Scott was like, no, because of all the FBI wiretaps and everything with Will Wade. And I love Will Wade. I thought he was a phenomenal coach. He was one of the more winningest basketball coaches that LSU has had in a long time. Got him to the tournament. So I get it, but like it was not a good look. Scott was not having it. And since then, the governor has been after Scott Woodward coming for his job, which he ultimately said, boy, bye, and he's gone now. So they name a new interim, which Verge Osbury, then they hire a new president yesterday, and so the first thing he did was take the interim tag off of Verge Osbury, but there's some skeletons in his closet, so it's like, what are we doing? I feel like it's a circus. This is not it's not my monkeys, but like I have to cover it. So it's been entertaining and I did not anticipate any of this, much less all of this in 3 weeks.
It has been a very, very weird few weeks there. And honestly, to me, LSU, if you're going to live in championship or weird, honestly, to me, I kind of like it. You know, I love like, you know, the 2019 team being here and then the whatever chaos we have down here. I know there's going to be a long time before we talk about a new head football coach there at LSU, but this year's LSU team going to Tuscaloosa, usually is the marquee game of the college football season. Both teams get a bye, and it's in prime time, whether it's in Death Valley or Tuscaloosa. This year's matchup, obviously not as sexy as it has been in years past. What's been the Tigers' mindset this season as they go to play their first game without their head coach?
I think LSU made the right move with firing Brian Kelly. I feel like there could be that interim boost of like, hey, we got some new energy, we got some new juice in the building, and I think that LSU has the leg up in a sense of Alabama doesn't know what they're getting. They now have a new play caller, Joe Sloan, the offensive coordinator. He's fired. He's gone. You have a new interim head coach with Frank Wilson. He wants to run the football because he's the running backs coach, and he's been a head coach before. So I think it's going to be hard for Alabama to really know what is coming, but I think Alabama is the better football team. I think Alabama has won in multiple ways. Ty Simpson has been phenomenal back there at quarterback. So I think this defense, LSU's defense, is certainly going to be tested yet again. But what we heard from Frank Wilson on Monday at his press conference is that Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator, asked, like, hey, can we simulate more defensive schemes and the game plan than what we've been doing at practice, which is kind of mind-boggling if you're asking to have a more intense practice and to simulate what they're going to see on Saturday nights. And we're like, why haven't you been doing that all season? That's a Brian Kelly thing.
Yep.
He's out the building. So, hey, I wouldn't be mad if LSU pulled a UCLA and went out and won the game with their new interim coach. Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely not. But I do think that it throws a little wrinkle in there. So I'm not mad about it. I am making the trek to Tuscaloosa tomorrow morning. So I'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday for that night kickoff. Thank goodness for a night kickoff. But, yeah, I feel like the Tide's going to take this one.
Chessa, is there any way that Frank Wilson, they could just take, oh, here we go, we already took the interim tag off our athletic director, why don't we just go ahead and take the interim tag off our head coach? I mean, if he goes out and wins out, could you see it happening?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, this is Louisiana. Anything can happen, obviously. He's been a part of this program for 2 or 3 different decades, and so he knows what goes into this program. I do love the energy. I think he's a great recruiter. He did not have the best winning records at UTSA or at McNeese, but at McNeese it is hard to win, especially when you're going against LSU for recruits and all that. I think he's a phenomenal recruiter. The guy that I would love to see get the chance who's already on staff would be Blake Baker. I think He understands the state of Louisiana. He is a player's coach. The guys love him. I mean, this man goes out to practice and is wearing cleats and trying to outdo number 7, Harold Perkins. I think you need that kind of energy and that kind of commitment and want to from a head coach that they had been lacking in this previous stint with BK. So I would love for Blake Baker. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if Frank Wilson did get the head coaching job just because of the circus that has kind of gone through this whole process.
Yep.
So again, at this point, anything could happen.
Chessa, I was like thinking about this whole situation. And honestly, with the governor and everything, it's almost like, you know, you break up with your ex, and then all of her friends are just like, yeah, you didn't need him anyways. We're going to post on social media saying, get this guy out of here and stuff like that. And then it almost makes you wonder, who would want to go and date you if this is how you're just going to treat people who didn't work out?
Oh yeah, that sounds like my fiance's baby mama. She's crazy. Like, they're all crazy. You can't do stuff like that. You can't treat people badly and then expect them to come running back and want to come play for you. So to me, it's one of those things of like, bro, what are we doing? The governor making a donkey out of himself on national television, and then he's talking about how I want to change the structure of these contracts. That sounds great, but the way the landscape of college football is, everybody's offering these enormous contracts for 5+ years and asking for a lot of money and giving a lot of money. And so if you want to go get a big fish, you got to still be able to reel that in, and you're not going to reel it in saying, hey, well, BK was worth it, you're not worth it, we're still owing, we owe Coach O and we owe BK, so we're only going to give you this money. Then also we also owe $6 million because we got rid of our athletics director. Like,
yeah,
I think it's such a bad look. And if I was a head coach, especially an experienced one with a lot of leverage, that is the last place that I wanted to go to, because it's such a circus right now.
I have a million personal questions for you when we get off this platform. But a football question for you. Speaking of Coach Wilson, in what ways do you think, if at all, things will change with Garrett Nussmeier and the offense? There were some struggles early on. You mentioned some tweaks there in practice. What do you think this offense will look like come Saturday with Wilson and making things a little bit easier for his QB?
Oh, he's outright said, we're going to run the football. Again, he was the running backs coach. That is his bread and butter. And I understand that the offensive line is a little bit banged up, but I feel like they want to establish the run game first, get that going, and then you can go to the passing game. I also was impressed that he said, hey, we also have Michael Van Buren, the second string quarterback, and he brings a lot to the table. He's a dual threat quarterback. We're going to have packages and use him in ways that helps this offense. So maybe it takes a little bit of pressure off of Nuss. And so to me, I know that they're going to be able to run the football, and they're going to commit to running the football, which I think that's been a lot of the issues this year, especially against Texas A&M. They ran the football well in the first half, then they end up down by 2 scores, and they're like, oh, we just need to pass it. Well, that's not how you were already. You were leading at halftime because of the running game. You don't need to abandon it. So I think that's going to come number one. You're going to set up the run game, and it's going to set up the passing game. So I think you'll see a little bit different with the offense. And I'm interested to see. Let's see what it looks like. I know that this team respects Frank Wilson. I feel like maybe Brian Kelly had lost the team already just because of the non-fight that there was, especially in the second half, the collapse against A&M. So I'm very excited. Frank Wilson's one of those fiery, in your face, and I think the team's going to play a lot like him.
Absolutely. Let's flip to a brighter conversation here with a different sport, one that has been perennially one of the best teams in the country. That is the women's basketball team. Kim Mulkey enters another season with this basketball squad. Still very early on in the season. For those that don't know, kind of paint the picture of what this 2025-26 roster looks like and some of the expectations going into the year.
I am over the moon about this roster. We got to watch them practice a few times the past few weeks leading up to the season. And I think, and this is hard to say, especially with the national championship team and the team that they had 2 years ago that made it to the Elite Eight, but I think this is by far the most talented team that Kim Mulkey has had at LSU. She had a phenomenal recruiting class come in. There are so many weapons on this team. I felt like last year, a lot of the times it was Michaela Williams or Flau'jae Johnson or Anissa Morrow. They had to rely on them doing everything offensively. But this team, they have chemistry. They play well together. Malaysia Fulwiley, the transfer from South Carolina, she was phenomenal last night in their season opener. 21 points. She had 5 steals in the first half alone.
Wow.
She brings just another dynamic to the floor, and she's kind of that general. She did come off the bench. I think pretty early on in this season she will be a starter, but Kim, you have to earn Kim Mulkey's trust. You're not going to come in and she's not going to say, here are the keys. You have to earn it. So I think Kim's kind of making her, but she knows the talent that she has on this roster. And also it's Zakiya Johnson. She's a freshman. She blew me away in their exhibition game. She's just defensively, she gets after it and she runs the floor really well and sees the court really well, and she penetrates and drives and dishes it off. It's just, they played like they played together for a long time, which is crazy to think about because they have 8 new faces returning from last year's team, only 2 starters from a year ago, and I'm more excited about this team than I have been in a long time.
Wow. I'm really excited too because they seem like a really athletic team, and even in that practice footage right there, they seem athletic and they can shoot as well. So that'll be really fun to watch. More specifically to Coach Mulkey, for those that don't know her, and I haven't. This is one of the few coaches that's coaching the SEC. I just haven't had a chance to run into her. For those that don't know her from a personal standpoint or coaching standpoint, I think a lot of people see the outfits during games. I think a lot of people hear the press conferences after games or before games or NCAA tournaments. She's not one to not share her opinion. For those that don't know her, paint a picture for those that don't know her personally and just the kind of person she is and the way it relates to the coaching and her players.
Yeah, so funny story. I've known Kim since I was 7 years old. I grew up in North Louisiana. I'm from Bossier City. And so when I was growing up, Louisiana Tech and Tennessee were the powerhouses in women's basketball. And she was an assistant coach for Leon Barmore. So I grew up, all I wanted to do in my entire life was to work in TV and play at Louisiana Tech. And of course, she was an assistant coach there. So I've known her for a long time. Kim, she expects the best out of you, and maybe even more so than what you think you can do. And she's hard on you, and she is that way because she knows what you can be, and she gets the best out of her players. She is a player's coach. She is hard. I would not want to play for her right now, especially being a point guard, because you're not going to do anything right. She's going to let you know if you need to do this, this, and this. But it's comical to me because even though Kim was a point guard, she's the only player as a player, assistant, and head coach to win a national championship, men or women's basketball.
Wow.
But she is about post play, and she is about getting the ball inside and distributing that. And so to me, it's fun to see her bring in some new talent down low and just to see the way they play off each other. But Kim is in your face, and she's going to tell you like it is. And I think either you respect her or you don't, and I understand that because I'm very similar. I'm going to tell you how I feel and what I think. Either you're going to like me or you don't, and that's okay. We sleep at night just the same way everybody else does, with a fan on, and you can't let it bother you because that's life. And so it's funny though because Kim is not a big fashionista. I know everybody thinks she's like all glitz and glam. No, she comes to practice no makeup. She's in like an LSU fishing shirt and just very. That's Kim. But I had a sit down interview with Kim, and Kim told me, like, Chester, the only reason why I did that is because they said it would bring more eyes to women's basketball. And if that brings more eyes, that brings more money, and it's better for the sport. So I'm willing to do that for the sport. So it's funny to see the different dynamic, but she's one of those, she's a ride or die. Either she's on your side or she's against you, and you don't want her to be against you. That's all I'm saying.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much for your time here and all your great insights, both in politics and in football.
and in relationships.
and in women's basketball and in relationships. You covered it all. You're the best, Jess. Thank you so much.
Multifaceted. That's what I like to do, guys.
Yes. 100%. Jessica Boucher joining us out of Louisiana, where things are never boring over there. Now transferring over from football to basketball season. Keep it right here on Southeast Sports Plus. We'll close up the first hour of our show. Closing up hour number 1 here on Southeast Sports Plus, Mariah Ross, Chester Boucher joining us early on. And this is one of my favorite times of year where we're doing that transition from football to basketball. And we're talking a little bit of both. And both of them kind of sit in similar situations. Teams with high expectations on the gridiron, and those have faltered. One has fired their coach. And you pair that with really good women's basketball to get excited about going into the future. I thought both of those were really just great guests, great hits there.
Yeah, and honestly, it brings up an interesting point because we've had so many teams in the SEC, their expectations were so high coming into this football season, and they just faltered. So, the fan base is angry. They want to fire everyone. They want to clean house. They're so mad. And then basketball starts. And it almost feels like it makes those expectations even higher. We just saw it Monday night with Auburn.
Yes.
Again, Bethune-Cookman shot the lights out. You cannot be mad at that.
Yeah.
No team is going to consistently shoot 57% from three-point. If they do, honestly, 1, they're the greatest team ever. And 2, maybe you should change up your defense a little bit.
Absolutely. And you mentioned it that they would probably Bethune-Cookman would probably be in line to win the.
They're going to win the SWAC. Yeah,
and I went back and looked at the preseason poll, and they are number 1 in the preseason poll to win the SWAC. So they're off to a really nice start.
They'll probably be a 16 seed, but that's a good basketball team.
Yeah.
That honestly, we've only had 2 16-over-1s upsets.
Right.
They could make it number 3.
They could be scary. Yeah.
I mean, I remember the UMBC team, and then Virginia.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then Purdue tried to do what Virginia did, come back, win the national title next year, but UConn stopped them en route to their second title. So, no, I just feel like when your football team struggles, especially in the SEC, you got to look somewhere else. For some teams, it is baseball, but then you got to wait through the entire winter.
Yeah, I was about to say, you got to wait through February to even get started on that. We want to continue a franchise here on this program. Our
franchise.
I love it. Overreactions. After not only another week of college football, we have more to react to because you also have the college football playoff poll rankings that have been released as well. So lots to overreact to going into this week.
Yeah, you want me to open it up here? So we're going to change it up. We're just going to go rapid fire today. We're not going to no visuals. We're just gonna go on screen here so that we can get true reactions.
Yeah.
The SEC, in my opinion, still gets 5 teams in the college football playoff, especially if Texas wins out. If Texas wins out, there is no doubt in my mind if all the other teams handle business. I mean, Texas A&M's not going to drop out after losing. Georgia's not going to drop out after losing. Georgia will still be in as a 2-loss team. They have one of the best resumes. But moving on to the other sport, I call these my mixed bag takes.
Mixed bag takes. Okay, I like it.
The Ole Miss Rebels kind of shocked me in their men's basketball opener. Yeah, they played they played a Group 5 school, but still they got Southeast Louisiana coming up here. I think they finished top 5 in the SEC.
Ole Miss, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
and I know that the Rebels lost a lot of talent from last year, but the talent coming in, I mean, some of these transfers, some of these freshmen, I feel like they're going to carry the way, and it's going to be hotty-toddy. Top 5 finish in the SEC. They finish 3rd. They have the number 3 seed heading into the SEC tournament.
Right.
That's my tick. And then last one, someone, I don't know who, is going to play spoiler this week in the SEC for football. Someone is going to lose a game that they shouldn't because it feels like it always happens at this time of year. You make all of these predictions, and you think you just can coast right into the playoff.
All right.
And someone comes swooping in.
Let me feet to the fire.
There we go.
These are the matchups. Georgia plays in Starkville against Mississippi State. The Citadel travels to Ole Miss. Texas A&M on the road at Missouri. Auburn on the road at Vanderbilt. LSU at Alabama. And Florida at Kentucky.
Watch that one in Starkville.
Watch the one in Starkville, he says. Georgia and Mississippi State. Mississippi State has now taken 2 teams to overtime.
Tennessee and Texas.
That's right.
Both in Starkville. We have to remember that.
Yeah, and that's an 11 o'clock kickoff too. So it's a
Georgia could sleepwalk through.
Right.
I mean, they almost sleepwalked through last week's game against Florida, and honestly, if it weren't for a no catch call, you could make the argument the Gators should have won.
That's true. That's very true. There's another interesting one there that I could see happening and Chester mentioned this earlier with the interim coach bump.
Oh, yes.
Does Auburn get the interim coach bump? and Diego Pavia plays DJ Durkin in that defense. I've heard some Auburn players talking for a little bit, and they obviously want to rectify things. I think Auburn might be able to pull the upset there. They haven't given up 25 to any team so far this year. All right, so that's one kind of mini overreaction there. My other one is it's going to be a bigger picture thing, is that, in my opinion, the NCAA or the College Football Playoff Committee got, for the most part, it right.
Yes.
There wasn't anything I really beefed with for the big picture with that. And also, I'm saying that there's not a Power 4 anymore. There's a Power 2. It's the the SEC and the ACC.
Wow.
That is it. That is it. Get Virginia out of here. All right, coming up next on Southeast Sports Plus, we have hour number 2.
Outbound transmission?
Affirmative.
Crew ready?
Check.
Signal lock?
Check.
Downstream stations online?
Linked and locked.
Let's light this candle.
Flame on.
In 3, 2, roll show open.
In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone Eli and Gerhard Mathangani.
We are off and rolling in the college basketball season. On the men's side, the SEC has played in 2 marquee games, and so far, not so good for the conference. Florida falling to Arizona on the night opener, and day 2 of the college basketball season featured Texas falling to Duke in the Dick Vitale Invitational, 75-60. 3 of 17 from downtown. There is the legend right there, Dick Vitale, in the Invitational, named after him. And it's the Duke Blue Devils getting it done, baby, in his voice, as Texas falls there to not only probably one of the better teams in the country, but most likely one of the best players in the country as well. We will dive into all that here on Southeast Sports Plus. Gerhard Mathangani, Patrick Walsh with you. Patrick, we talked about this to close yesterday's show. We kind of gave some predictions here, and you about called this one to a T. 1 point off.
Yeah. I said Duke was going to win by 16. It would have been a moral victory if Texas was able to keep it in a single-digit deficit. I never thought that Texas was going to win this game just because Duke was just loaded. It felt like they just absolutely reloaded after losing. You know, the big question coming in for the Blue Devils was, all right, how are you going to replace all 5 of your starters who are all 5 of them are in the NBA right now? Con Knipple, Cooper Flagg, Malawak, Sion James, and Tyrese Proctor.
Right.
I mean, that's a deadly
starting five. Right, that is a deadly starting five, and to replace all 5 of them, to go down by a point, 33-32. Duke was actually losing in this basketball game, and to come back and win it shows their resilience as well. And then obviously you have to talk about the star of the game and Cam Boozer, and the freshman, obviously the son of the former Duke star and NBA star Carlos Boozer. He came up with a double-double, but did not look good in the first 20 minutes of this game. And they said John Shire said that he was playing soft early on, and he came and ripped it up in the second half.
I was talking in my group chat with my friends about this game, and I was like, man, are we really seeing Arch Manning in college basketball now?
That was such a great point you made on yesterday's show, and I didn't really think about that, but you're right, yeah.
Like, I saw he was 0 for 7. He grabbed 3 rebounds in the first half, and here I am thinking, man, we did it to another guy.
Yeah.
We did it to another freshman.
Yep.
Well, not Arch isn't a freshman, but
right.
He's
essentially his first year starting. Yeah.
But John Shire gave Cameron Boozer a challenge.
Yep.
Hey, man, you're playing soft.
Yeah.
I don't know what would fire me up more than that.
I know.
I mean, the only thing that would get me more fired up is if it was coming from Coach K.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
no disrespect to John Shire. He's done a great job since Coach K retired. If you look at the big 3 coaching retirees in the ACC, you look at UNC, Duke, Syracuse. I think Duke's doing just fine out of it. UNC's had some ups and downs, and don't want to talk about my Orange because it's been nothing but down, but maybe coming back up this year. But I was just impressed with how he played in this game. Yeah. There was the talk about the Tennessee exhibition game where he dropped a double-double, 20-plus points and rebounds, and everyone's like, oh, my goodness, he's the next best thing. This just feels like Cooper Flagg. I said it yesterday. I don't want to make the comparisons to Cooper Flagg. I think that he just hit the ground running after the first half. In the second half, if he can use that to build momentum, he's picking up right where Cooper Flagg left off.
No, he is. Like you said earlier, he's a freshman. And the reason why I thought the Arch Manning parallels that you drew yesterday work so beautifully, in my opinion, is the fact that if you think about both guys, both are freshmen, both have the physical traits.
Right.
And Arch had the physical traits. You saw it out of high school. Cam has the physical traits. You saw it out of high school as well. Both are either the sons of or direct family to people that we know on a first or last name basis with guys that were stars at the highest level. Of course, Carlos Boozer in the NBA and Arch Manning, as well as Eli and his grandfather Archie and Peyton Manning as well. And they're both playing for guys that were assistant coaches to legends. John Shire was an assistant coach to Mike Krzyzewski, who won all those championships. Steve Sarkisian was an assistant coach to Nick Saban, who won all those championships. And I feel like it's because you have a good coach in place there, and we saw it with John Shire, and we're seeing it now with Arch Manning.
Yes.
The coaches help stabilize the player, and then that way, when the hype gets sky high and they don't perform, the coach can help bring them back down. That's the reason why I thought it was another excellent parallel, because I think both they're running in the same direction. Cam Boozer got there a little earlier than Arch did on the timeline, but I feel like they're still in a good place here as true freshmen.
Right, but still, even Cameron Boozer didn't have a good start to his game. Arch did not have a good start to his starting career. Yeah, he's not a freshman, but this is his first year starting, so you might as well call him – he would be a freshman in the basketball sense.
Right.
Since we see it more often than not nowadays. Freshmen on the basketball side, they're just stars, and they're one and done. Well, on football, you don't really see a freshman quarterback come in and instantly just take the world by storm. I mean, we're kind of seeing it with Bryce Underwood right now, but I honestly think I don't know how Duke keeps doing it. Like at this point, it feels like with NIL, it feels like the drop-off should be coming because you saw it with Alabama a little bit.
Yeah.
On the football side.
Right.
But they just keep reloading.
They do.
It's just a never-ending cycle
right.
there in Durham.
And we've seen the other teams that are around them, they take dips and come back.
Yes.
Syracuse is taking a dip and has come back. North Carolina has taken a dip and then they came back. Florida even took a dip and came back. But it just feels like they have been steadily there on that top line and looks to have once again another great team going into this year.
The only other team I could sort of compare this to is probably Kentucky. I mean,
yes.
They had to I believe that Coach Cal leaving Lexington was a win-win for both teams.
Yes.
Cal needed a fresh start, and then the team just needed a fresh start. Bring in Mark Pope, and he just picks up right where Coach Cal left off, even though Cal took all of his guys down to Fayetteville.
Right.
But, I mean, they're both doing well.
Right.
And it's just so interesting. But I want to go back to Texas because, honestly, Sean Miller is a great coach.
Mm-hmm.
And he is going to be a great coach for years to come. You got to give him some time.
Sure.
Because I think this Texas team will finish in the top half of the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
The problem last night, they just couldn't get any offense going.
Right. And it felt like offense was a struggle the entire game.
Yeah.
And when Duke was able to turn it up in the second half, large thanks to the freshmen, they weren't able to do the exact same. And obviously, this is a first game for a new head coach, and just like we were trying to warn Auburn, and you did it to Auburn fans directly when Stephen Pearl came in, you can't make a bunch of judgments in a 30-plus game season from one game. But what did you glean from what you saw early stages here, Sean Miller?
I mean, they had Duke on the ropes early.
Yeah.
And we'll listen to Sean Miller here in a minute, but he was talking about how they were able to be tight on the defensive end.
Right.
And then once Duke starts to spread you out, we saw it last year with Cooper Flagg. He'd start driving to the basket. He'll get free throws. SG free throw over in Oklahoma City with the Thunder. He'll slash and dash. And then you look at last night, Cameron Boozer wasn't doing that in the beginning.
Yeah.
John Shire challenged him. Be more physical. Stop playing soft. He got to the line 12 times, and he made 9 free throws.
That's exactly right. He certainly did. And that was the big part for the reason why there was a nice turnaround there. We also got a chance to hear from Sean Miller after game number 1 as the new Longhorns head coach.
I wasn't pinned. I thought our physicality and our defense was outstanding. We did a really good job on Cameron Boozer in the first half. Like, he might have missed a couple, but we were just, our defense was tighter. We were able to play him without fouling, and we did a good job of just being physical around the basket. I mean, we really had him under control. He's a very difficult player to defend. In the second half, we got spread out. They continued to drive, and I just think when you play Duke, it's as simple as this. They want to really open the court and spread you out. And when they do, they can really drive the ball and create fouls. If you can keep it tight, that's your best bet. It's just difficult to do for 40 minutes. And I thought our defense was intact for a majority of the game. Our effort was intact. But they put a lot of pressure on your defense. And eventually, the undisciplined nature of our fouls and just us getting spread out, they wore us down. By the way, you also have to score. And, when you're turning the ball over and you can't score, that puts even more pressure on your defense. And our offense wasn't nearly as fluid and up and down with playing with pace as I think it will be moving forward. And, again, it's reflected in 6 assists and 16 turnovers.
6 assists, 16 turnovers, as he said, and also from the field, 19 of 59. So you
cannot win games doing that.
No, I mean, you put up almost 60 shots though. So if you think that this is a blip on the radar, if you have to feel really good about just the offense overall, you just need to start making them.
Yeah, and I really like how Texas was able to play defense last night. They held Duke to under 80 points, which I don't think a lot of teams are going to do that this year.
No.
Especially with the high-powered slash and dash you'll see out of Cameron Boozer. We're still waiting to see who that 3-point shooter is going to be. And then it's just like It really is a mirror image of last year. You're going to have Cameron Boozer have that Cooper Flag type season.
Right.
You just want to see who's going to be the Con Knipple that'll just hit threes when you need him.
And then the big man down low to help rebound if those shots do not go in. Duke had it all last year. They're in a nice run to the Final Four. We've talked about Cameron Boozer, and we talked about John Shire and what he said to him in the locker room. Here's Coach on his superstar.
Really proud of him. That's not an easy first game. That's not an easy situation to be in. And, look, he's just a competitor and he's a winner. And the ability to flip that switch in game, I think that's what a lot of guys struggle with. That's not an easy thing. And his impact for us is more than just the scoring and the rebounding. He helped get us into the bonus, and we hit a lot of free throws. It's the defense. He's switching everywhere on the floor. So for me, just his attitude, his maturity to handle that situation, I think that says a lot about who he is as a competitor.
I think my teammates did a great job picking me up. Shar challenged me at halftime. He said I played soft the first half, which, it was true. It was true. So second half, like you said, had to change my mentality. Teammates did a great job finding me. I think we were a tougher team in the second half as a unit. That led to, obviously, the win. So.
And Duke will play Arkansas coming up a little bit later on in the year, actually later on this month on November 27th. And speaking of Arkansas, we head out to talk with one of our favorite friends here on Southeast Sports Plus. Courtney Mims joins us talking all things Hogs. Stay with us. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus, hour number 2 rolls along. We head over to Arkansas. Check in with Courtney Mims. Got a great chance to talk to her there in the break about her father and basketball. We'll talk some hoops in just a little bit, but first let's talk football because we've been waiting for a little while for this Arkansas team to finally get a win. Auburn came to town. It's like, will they do it? Mississippi State came to town. They're like, can we do it? Okay, so I'll promise you this. We will keep the football talk very brief. We'll go more basketball. But on football, what do you make of just the way this year is? And I know we have flirted with the conversation of Bobby Petrino being able to keep this job, but has he almost coached himself out of the job over the last few weeks?
Yeah, I've told you guys before because I went on the show, what was it, last week before this game? And you guys said, do you think they'll get their first SEC win? And I went,
yeah.
You know, and I think you guys remember that. And I was correct for a reason, right? It's sad to be right about that, but there you go. But yeah, I said before after the Auburn game, I said after the Auburn game, it's done. Bobby Petrino, not going to get the job. And so there were still some people who went, really? Are you sure?
Right.
And I said, yes, I'm absolutely sure. After this Mississippi State loss, unfortunately, for maybe any Bobby Petrino supporters out there or anybody who really wanted him to get the job, it's just not going to happen. I've been told by sources that he kind of knows that now, and it's kind of an obvious thing that, hey, it's not going to go to you. Sorry, but hey, we appreciate you and what you've been doing. You know, there's only, a few games left, 3 after this bye week. And so, yeah, we're going to have you coach out the rest of the season. And, we're going to look in a different direction. And so that's what we've been told again. And I think the fan base has really come to terms with that as well. Any of the people that really wanted him to get the job kind of go,
right.
Yeah, maybe we just need a fresh face, some new energy, something different, just to get this fan base energized. Because right now, I'll tell you guys, it's all basketball here in the state of Arkansas.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think there's anybody now. I'll say this, not entirely all basketball, because you still have College Game Day that might come to Arkadelphia next week for the Battle of the Ravine. So, hey.
That's right.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that people have turned their attention to basketball. And I remember seeing a couple of weeks ago, it was like a dunk contest, and it felt like the student section was out there. They were, just like roaring, ready to go. And Coach Calipari there in year 2. Obviously, the Hawks get a big win there to start the season off against Southern. For those that don't keep up with this basketball team, the last time they saw them was in the big dance last year. What does Calipari have back in store this season, and what do you expect of them after that big win in their opener?
Oh, well, he has an even better team than he did last year. Yeah, they went to the Sweet 16 last year. That was great. We were happy after an 0-5 start in SEC play. I don't think anybody predicted this team to go to the Sweet 16 last year, but this team is better than last year's. And if you don't believe me, just look at the schedule, right? This team faces every single team that was in the Elite Eight last year at some part of their season, right? In the non-conference and the conference slate. So look, Calipari, he's not dumb. He's been doing this for a long time. He is a Hall of Fame basketball coach for a reason. He scheduled that schedule because he knows the talent he has. And you saw it on display a little bit against Southern. You saw it on display in the 2 exhibition games against Cincinnati and Memphis. I said it last week on the show. This team is going to a Final Four. It takes a lot of luck to get there. If luck is on their side, they have the talent to do it. They return just a plethora of talent. Trevin Brazile was the leading scorer in that game against Southern. Yeah, they return him. They also get back DJ Wagner. They also get back Billy Richmond. And Carter Knox, he didn't even play in that game against Southern. He was dealing with a foot injury, and so he should be good for this Saturday against Michigan State. We feel like he'll be good for that game, but they obviously just wanted to keep him out of that opener just to make sure he was okay. And then you also have 2 freshmen who are just so good, guys. So good.
Yeah.
Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff. Darius Acuff had 20 points in the first half. Amazing. 14 of those 20 points in that first half, guys, came at the last 3 minutes of the first half.
Wow.
He just went off. He went off. And he just said, you know what? We're going to put away Southern. And he said, I'm going to do it right now. And then in the second half, you obviously had Malik Thomas. You see it right there, those stats there. But Malik Thomas, 21 points in that game. He can do it all, guys. I sat down with him, and he's not a freshman. I don't care what anybody says. He acts like he is playing in the NBA. That's his mindset, and I love it. Guys, this team, I can't say enough good things about him. I know I went on a rant there, but I'm so excited about this team.
Courtney, I feel like I go back to the Kentucky days, and it felt like early in the season, teams under Coach Cal would put up triple digits. But the one thing that would always kind of scare me about his teams is that they really wouldn't play defense well. And I know this was still a 30-point victory over Southern, But allowing 77 points does scare me a little bit. Was it just guys getting a little bit of time? I mean, I didn't watch the game, so maybe you could help me with that a little bit, because just thinking about it and going back to Jack Golke back in the tournament when Kentucky played Oakland and he just rained threes down on them. The one thing about the Coach Cal teams that just make me a little bit queasy is just the fact that sometimes they don't play defense, and it comes back to haunt them.
Oh, absolutely. And you're totally right on that, because that is something that we've looked at with this team, and we've said, okay, that's something that needs to get better, especially Coach Cal did say it in the post-game press conference last night. You know the first thing that came out of his mouth? He said, yeah, we did a lot of things great, but we gave up 12 threes. We gave up 12 threes, people. We can't have that happen. Teams are going to take advantage of us if they can stay in the ball game by shooting threes. You're exactly right, Patrick. You hit the nail on the head, and I was going to say that in terms of talking about this team moving forward, because that is something that concerns a lot of us. Now, Arkansas is playing their game, though, and I like their offense so much right now. The talent they have there, the pace of play. They turn the game into a track meet, right, where nobody can keep up with them, because look at transition. Right? Let's just break that down. The reason why they were able to get such a good lead over Southern and put them away was because of fast break points. 32 compared to Southern's 12. That's how they beat you. They want to turn it into a full court game. They have the athleticism. They have the talent to do that with the team that they have. You know, it goes, you know, in comparison, let's talk about Michigan State, who's their next opponent. Tom Izzo's a guy that likes to keep things in the half court, that has a lot of half court sets, right? And really likes to slow the game down and make it their pace of play. That'll be really interesting to see what happens when they face a team like that. I mean, let's be honest here. Michigan State against Colgate, we're talking about giving up threes, right? Michigan State against Colgate, that was why Colgate was able to stay in the game. Right. Because they also gave up, 11 threes?
Colgate's been one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country, though. For the last few years.
Okay. And listen, I'll give some love to Southern, too, who were last season, they were the regular season SWAC champs. Okay. Listen, hold on. Whoa, Patrick.
Whoa, what did I do?
Whoa. I'll tell you this. Don't overlook Southern. Now they need to defend the three. Absolutely. There were some lax plays where I went, what are we doing? Don't give them open looks, because Southern took advantage of them, and you better believe everybody on that non-conference slate is going to take advantage of that. That is something that they are working on, is being more aggressive at, obviously, defending the three. That is something that they're going to do. You're right, Patrick. I don't have the crystal ball. I can't tell you if this team's going to magically fix that.
I tell you what, if you could, though, if you did have a crystal ball, you'd make yourself a few bucks.
I would. I really would, because I'd be able to tell you exactly what happened in every single sports season. But look, we'll say this. Michigan State didn't shoot the three very well. Hasn't shot the three very well. And in that game against Colgate, they didn't. So look, maybe you might be able to squeak out a win over Michigan State, because they are not a really three-point shooting team right now. They might get that together. We'll see. But you're exactly right. You can't give up 12 threes, especially to Southern. You can't do it. You just can't.
Yeah, absolutely. And John Calipari would try to do something that Courtney's dad has done that not a lot of people have done. That's beat Tom Izzo. Things. If you tell us things in the break, we're liable to say them on air. We won't tell any super personal stuff, but your dad beat Tom Izzo once before. So and very few people can say they've beaten the Hall of Famer. Now this team goes to East Lansing. Talk a little bit about the matchup going on the road, and if you trust this team to still produce at the same caliber, high level as they have so far last year and in the first game this year.
I think they do, because like I said, I like Arkansas's offense a lot right now. I think Michigan State still needs to work some out. Yes, Tom Izzo got some guys to return and some serious ballers on that squad. I'm not giving any hate to the Spartans here. They are a very, very talented team, and I like what we're seeing from them early on. But I like Arkansas's offense better, and I like that Arkansas has guys who can just score at all three levels. I talk about Malik Thomas. He's a guy that, I mean, you have two freshmen on your team, and Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff, that do not care if they miss a bucket. They do not care. They will literally they're like goldfish. They forget about it. They go back down the court. They take the same shot and they'll make it, right? And so that's really great to see. But when it comes to Michigan State and this matchup, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because I talked about they play two different styles of basketball, right? Mm-hmm. If Arkansas establishes the way they want to play, which, like I said, it's going to be turning it into a track meet. It's going to be trying to get fast break points. It's going to be trying to generate turnovers, right? To generate turnovers to make it into offense and those points for them. That's going to be how they play. They like to play that style in the full court. If it's not that, and you're seeing that because Arkansas scored 109 points in their season opener, right? Mm-hmm. On the other side of things, Michigan State, right? Only 80 points. That's because they like to slow the game down. Tom Izzo, very good at half court sets, very good at making their game in the half court, which is obviously slowing things down. And so you now have two differing styles of play going up against each other this Saturday. So which one wins out? Who establishes how the game is going to be played up front? Right. And here's another thing that I'm looking out for. Michigan State, Tom Izzo's teams, very physical, very aggressive. It's like, man, you look at them, free throws, right? In their games, in their exhibition games, and even against Colgate, they're getting to the line, right? They're just physical. Now, making their free throws, that's another story, but they are physical, and there will be I think they'll try and get to the line and have I hope maybe not, because I like when the teams get to play. Yeah. It's boring when it's a lot of free throws, but that's besides the point. They're very physical. And what did Memphis do straight out of the gate in that exhibition game where they looked really good and Arkansas didn't? They established an aggressive style of play. They were incredibly physical. And it was like, whoa, Arkansas didn't know how to handle it. Yes, they settled down. They got into their style of play. And that's when they gassed Memphis, right? Right. Because they started up tempo. They started, let's get into our game. If Michigan State can cause Arkansas to not get into a rhythm and play up tempo, they're going to win this ball game. Okay? But Arkansas' style of play, if it's a close game, Michigan State will win, right? They're slowing the game down. It's going to be a close game, and they'll win on a last-minute bucket or something like that. This is Courtney's crystal ball. If Arkansas... You guys laugh at me, but I'm doing it. If Arkansas establishes their pace of play and gets it into a track meet, they're going to have an early lead, look good, and they'll probably win big. I'm not saying win big by 30 points. Right. Winning big against two ranked opponents is double digits, right? If you can win by 10 points, 12 points, that's winning big. That will be Arkansas's victory. That's what I'm predicting right now. I love it. That's what I'm saying is going to happen. I love it, though. The reason why I laughed is because Courtney's Crystal Ball sounds like a perfect name for a sponsor segment thing right in the middle of the show. And when whatever topic we go to, we're going to
3:15 every Wednesday.
And I want you to dress up for it, put like a little fortune teller hoodie on, and go there with the crystal ball. I can see it playing out already. And if it's betting style, then hey, people can win some money off of it. John Calipari, Tom Izzo, two active coaches with a national championship. Coach Cal talking about the Spartans.
I don't know how many times he and I have coached against each other, but it's a few. How many? And then, but I've never coached in that arena. And they tell me the arena's crazy. So it's going to be, what's that? I've been there, it's pretty good. Yeah, I have not been, so I'm kind of excited about that. I don't like coaching against friends. And I think Tom's the same way. Like, if we win, I'll be excited, and I'll see him, and I'll feel like crap. And he'll be the same way, you know. But no, we're, playing it. He'll come here next year. It's a great home and home. he's a Hall of Famer, and he's a great friend. He and I get on the phone with our wives listening and just laugh for 45 minutes, and then we feel better crap we're dealing with. And so, terrific coach, terrific person, and I'm proud about calling him my friend.
That was really good stuff there. Talking about Coach Izzo and just how much he means to him, and the fact that they have only played a handful of times there in that matchup. Before we let you go, we want to turn to the other side on the court. The women's basketball team obviously getting off to a really strong note. The SEC is going to be very tough, obviously, with South Carolina. Tennessee seems to be looking back as well. What's in store here for the Razorbacks on the female side?
Well, I'm very impressed so far. And this is just early on, right, guys?
Yeah,
and we've seen this
for sure.
team a little bit in practice, but this was the first time we got to see what the Kelsey Music era is going to look like. And I thought it was impressive to really see this team. They were down 17-2 in the first quarter. Wow. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be the same old story with the Arkansas women's basketball team. Things haven't changed. Oh my goodness, this is not good. I mean, I almost cut the highlights from my show because I thought this was just going to be such a bad blowout against Louisiana Tech. And the Lady Texters, that's a good team to start off your season with. Right. I get it. I get it. It's not starting off your season against a Michigan State or something like that, you know, but there's still good competition. And you had people going in and saying, wait a second, why did we schedule Louisiana Tech to start off our season with? I mean, Kelsey Music's really bold to do that, but I was impressed to see they came back from being down by 15 to go on and get that victory. And that just goes to show Kelsey Music was not blowing smoke when she said in her opening press conferences and what this team was going to do. You saw exactly what she preaches. She preaches faith, family, fearless. Those are the three pillars, right? Obviously, faith in what your team can do, faith outside of what your team can do, as well, just faith in life. Family, they're a family, of course. They got to stick together throughout the season, and fearless. And I felt like we saw those pillars in action. They stayed together as a group. They didn't break. They came back. They really they said, you know what? We're not down in this game. We're going to make sure we go out and win it. Family, they stuck together. Faith, they had faith in what they could do, and they were fearless from the second quarter on to watch that team come back. I know the SEC is tough, but you have to lean on that. If you're going to win it. They don't have the same talent as everybody else. They don't. I'll say that. They're not a South Carolina. They're not an LSU. They're just not. I mean, even Ole Miss and other teams, they're not the same talent caliber. But they could sneakily get some teams in the SEC if they play like they did last night. They're never out of a game. It's like, you ask these girls and they're like, nope. We were going to win that game. And I thought that shows the culture shift. And it was so badly needed at the University of Arkansas with the women's basketball team. And so I think people are very excited to see what Kelsey Music can do with this squad moving forward.
Absolutely. I think that's perfectly put. Don't gauge this team so much on the wins and losses. It is a culture shift in the foundation they're building over there in Hogs Country. Courtney, you're awesome. Crystal ball. Courtney's crystal ball.
Courtney's crystal ball. We'll get it. We'll make it happen.
Can we do it?
We're gonna superimpose a crystal ball right in the middle there, and then you're just gonna, like right there, and then boom, and light us on the future.
We're gonna take the mic and we're gonna make it into a crystal ball.
Yes.
And
exactly.
then Wednesdays at 3:15, I'm just gonna come on with you guys and give you my crystal ball for college basketball.
Yes,
it's gonna be
please
great.
Perfect. And by the time the crystal ball is actually in full form, we'll have our first head coaching news, hopefully so, coming from the Razorbacks. Who might be the next head coach? I'm just saying that's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Don't try and make me crystal ball that one. It changes daily.
Well, we'll give you a few weeks.
It changes daily.
Hey, I figured that. I figured that. Courtney, you're awesome. Thank you for your time today here on Southeast Sports Plus.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all.
Courtney Mims, always fun, entertaining, and a great insight there on this basketball team that could make noise there on the women's side. And Coach Calipari, a lot of excitement there for the men.
I think this is a matchup that we very well could see in the Sweet 16 come March. Huge matchup for both teams. Obviously, Michigan State looking to replace a lot of their players that they lost when they lost in the Elite Eight to Auburn last year, and then Arkansas trying to build off that momentum. A lot of people wrote them off. They said, Cal, you don't got it anymore, and then he just managed to rip off a Sweet 16 run. But the one thing I do worry is, can Cal get his guys to play defense?
Right.
Because that's the one thing that has kind of haunted him, especially come March.
Right. And this true test here in the non-conference will really expose that if they cannot, or reflect it if they can. Really interested to see what goes on in East Lansing, Michigan, and beyond with the Arkansas Razorbacks. Keep it right here on Southeast Sports Plus. We'll talk some NFL Thursday night football with some SEC members in action tonight. Keep it here. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus, great college basketball talk, great college football talk today as we get ready for another week in college athletics. Also, a great day in the NFL tonight. The Denver Broncos have been, I think, one of the more pleasant surprises, so to speak, so far this year. I know they built some momentum a year ago, but they're looking really good with Bo Nix, the former Auburn star quarterback, taking on the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. I always want to say L.A., then I want to say Oakland. They've been everywhere, it feels like. Mariah Ross, one of my favorite moments of today's show, when she was like, I knew better than to be a Raiders fan, so she quickly jumped off that bandwagon.
Can we just stop real quick and just talk about how we've had one amazing moment with every guest
we have.
today?
Yes,
Mariah about that. Chessa about the old governor and everything, and then Courtney going on about the crystal ball. We'll get that happening. I mean, just great show today. But yeah, as you mentioned, on Thursday, going to be an interesting matchup to me, because on paper, This matchup really doesn't mean much.
Right.
Broncos 7-2. They're pretty much running away with the West there. The Raiders, I mean, it's been a struggle. They've lost that guy right there in the picture, Brock Bowers, for most of the season. But he came back and had a pretty good game last week in his return against Jacksonville. It's just interesting because this Broncos team, I don't really know what to make of them just yet. We saw last year, Bo Nix, rookie year. Yeah, it was a great year, but you could tell once the playoffs rolled around, they just got beat by a much better Buffalo Bills team.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of them yet this year.
I'm the same way. I think obviously defensively they're still dynamic, and they still have one of, if not the best player in football on defense in Patrick Surtain. The defense is outstanding, and I think it's just enough to be able to kind of hold the boat. What I really like about the Broncos is obviously their coach, and Sean Payton's been outstanding. And the receiving core for Bo Nix has been really dynamic as well. Yeah. They don't have a ton of the star names like the Eagles have. A.J. Brown, of course, and you have the former Bama star Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. They have a bunch of weapons that you know from a name standpoint. The Broncos obviously have Cam Sutton that people know, but this is a Broncos wide receiver weapons core to me that can help hold the boat open, or hold the boat up for the offense for them to get on board. I think they'll have no problem tonight against the Raiders because I think the Raiders are basically starting from scratch here. But I'm right there with you with the Broncos because I don't see them in the same light, and people might think I'm crazy with this. I don't see the Broncos in the same light that I see the Kansas City Chiefs. Now the people will say, well, the Broncos right now have a 7-2 record. The Chiefs are 5-4.
Right.
But still, I still trust Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, and company to continue to do work. Not so sure about this Denver team.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the guys that I feel like has been having a resurgent year has been J.K. Dobbins. Right?
Yes.
He was just hampered by continuous injuries in Baltimore. It never felt like he truly got a chance because he was just on IR the whole time. It felt like he was in Baltimore. But another guy that's looking to come off a lost year was Evan Ingram. And I just remember him and his time in Jacksonville. And I was like, man, he's really blossomed into one of the better tight ends in the game. And you could make the argument that he was easily in the top 10, maybe even in the top 5 in the game at one point.
Right.
But last year he missed 7 games. And this year he goes to Denver trying to reinvigorate himself. Only has 1 touchdown this year, but I wonder if he starts becoming more of a weapon as this season goes on.
Yeah.
Because you talked about the wide receiver room. There's no names that really stick out to you.
Right.
And, I mean, injuries start to stack up here late in the season. We've seen it already. And unfortunately, there's just been a mass chaos when it comes to the injury front.
Right, exactly.
And I feel like he could be one guy that they could turn to.
For sure. And I was like just pulling up their season stat sheet for their guys. I called him Cam Sutton. I'm sorry. I meant to call him by his name. Cortland Sutton. But then also you have Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims. Those are your top 4. And Evan Ingram is right there at number 5 overall for the season. 215 yards and a touchdown so far this year. So he can be a big player for them moving forward. The former Ole Miss star there for the Denver Broncos going into this week's game. We got a chance to hear from Bo Nix. And the former Auburn star, I think it's kind of like Jalen Mills. It's kind of not Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts. Yes. Where he started in the SEC. Most of his tenure is in the SEC. Went to somewhere else to try to finish his career, but we still claim him in the SEC. Yeah, exactly.
I think, if we can find a way not to have to play the number 1 defense in the league, that might help. But they're trying to keep us from scoring at the same time we're trying to score. So it's not easy, and we found ways at times. And the good thing is we've fooled guys like you to believing that's easy at some point in the game. So I think that's, we always want to score every drive. That's, point blank period. That's our goal. Sometimes we fall short of that goal, and we have to, rely on the next drive and go score the next drive. But I think at times we execute better than others, and then we just got to find a way to execute all of them like they're the most important thing ever. And we're always really close, and so that's the good thing.
Now, we mentioned Bo and his ties to the SEC. He's one of several guys for those Denver Broncos that are former stars out of the Southeastern Conference.
Yes, Bo Nix. I mean, You can claim him Auburn. You can also claim him Oregon. It's the same way with Jalen Hurts.
Right.
Both Oklahoma and Alabama can claim him. But another guy from Auburn, Jarrett Stidham, his backup. He might. You never know. I know we saw a few weeks ago Quinn Ewers got some action on Thursday Night Football. Tyler Beatty out of Mizzou, Adam Prentice, South Carolina, and then Marvin Mims, as you mentioned there, coming from Oklahoma. And then moving on here, Trent Sherfield Jr. out of Vanderbilt, Nate Adkins, Evan Ingram, who we just talked about, trying to reinvigorate himself there in the Mile High City, Savion Jones out of LSU, and then DJ Jones out of Ole Miss. And then keeping it right along here, Malcolm Roach out of Texas, Nick Benito, one of the stars on that Denver Broncos defense. Dre Greenlaw as well out of Arkansas. Quay Robinson, Alabama. Chris Abrams-Drain. And then rounding it out here from the Broncos, Jahdae Barron from Texas. Pat Surtain, I believe he was the Defensive Player of the Year last year.
That's right.
I mean, you don't really see that out of a corner in today's NFL. PJ Locke out of Texas. And then Jeremy Crawshaw out of Florida doing the punting duties. But let's move over to Vegas here.
Yeah.
It feels like it's just when is the suffering going to end?
Yeah, this has been rough because the turn of Geno Smith, you think maybe you got something rolling. Tom Brady's a part owner of this football team. Pete Carroll, a champion head coach, is the head coach of the team, and you think that the tide is about to turn here. It just fully hasn't so far, and you see the talent there. They beat the Patriots to start the season off. I mean, you think, okay, this team has.
And you see where the Patriots have gone now.
Correct, yeah, and so I mean, you get the sense that they can get it done. They just haven't been able to fully take that jump to that next level, and I really don't know where you go from here. Do you burn it all down, or you try to get some draft picks and see if you can run it back with some more talent?
Well, I think, in my opinion, I think they should have traded away Max Crosby. I'm a little bit stunned that they did keep him through the deadline, because you could have easily gotten an overhaul for him. But I mean, you got to build around this guy right here, Brock Bowers.
Yep.
And yeah, it hasn't been a great year for him because of the injury side, but you saw what he was able to do last year. We got a chance to watch him during his career at Georgia. I mean, you knew right away that this guy was going to be going in the first round. 3 touchdowns in his return. I think if you're going to build any sort of momentum, I don't think Geno Smith's the answer. I'm sorry. I'm a West Virginia guy.
Right.
Geno went to West Virginia. I feel like he had a great run there in Seattle, reinvigorating his career again.
Yeah.
After the Jets. I feel like his time is up here in the NFL. Aiden O'Connell hasn't really been the answer. They tried to go to him last year, nearly beat the Chiefs in late in the season.
Right.
I think you just got to start fresh, got to get a new quarterback, just build from there.
Probably just tear it all down. I think he's not the same reclamation project that we've seen with some of these other quarterbacks in the league. And we saw Brock Bowers tear it up at the University of Georgia. We knew he would be a superstar kind of player, and he's one of several guys with ties to the Southeastern Conference for this Raiders team as well.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this, I think last year I had him on fantasy.
No, I have him this year.
You have him this year?
I have him this year, yeah.
Oh, man. Who do I have? I think I have Ferguson and Tyler Warren. So, I mean, it's hard to two guys that have just been able to carry that just fine.
Been able to dominate it. So, yeah, he has been good. But you mentioned coming back from injury and got a chance to hear from him about being able to get back into action on the field.
Yeah, I think, personally, mentally, it's harder not playing than playing just because you want to be out there so bad. And, it sucks when you're not on the field helping the team. Maybe a little fresh legs, but I just kind of try to treat it like any other week. And you can't have those thoughts going through your head like you have to do this, you have to do that. You just got to go out there and play.
And Brock Bowers, one of several former SEC players to come out of the league and into this franchise, joins Zamir White, former Georgia star, Deontay Thornton as well out of Tennessee. There's, of course, Bowers and Stone Forsythe out of Florida, and Adam Butler coming out of Vanderbilt. Tonka Hemingway, I should say, from South Carolina. Jola Lalu out of Oklahoma. J.J. Pegues, former Miss star. Jamal Adams, who went over in a trade from Seattle, now with the Raiders over there at LSU. Devin White, also from LSU, as they call it, DBU over there for that football program. Eric Stokes from Georgia. Chris Smith II from the Georgia Bulldogs as well. And former Auburn kicker Daniel Carlson for the Auburn Tigers there. Lots of SEC talent on display here. Who do you like in the game?
I got to go with Denver here. I mean, just on paper, not a great matchup. I still think the better team comes out with a win. Who do you have?
I like Denver as well.
Yeah.
Denver scares me, though, because they get off to really slow starts. Now, their fourth quarter, when they beat the Giants, they scored 33 points there in that one quarter. They've been a good second-half team, but first halves have been a bit shaky here for this squad.
Yeah, and you ready to go into our favorite segment ever?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Best bets. I'll start us off here.
All right.
I got Brock Bowers anytime touchdown here at plus 170. I think Bowers going to be able to build off of last week. It's a huge boost for this team to get back into just a rhythm. I mean, the offense hasn't really had an identity this year, and with Bowers coming back, having that 3-touchdown game last game, I really like him in this one. Let's move over to the Denver side. Bo Nix, 225-plus pass yards. I feel like Bo Nix has really started to develop himself into being one of the premier quarterbacks in the league, easily in the top 15. You can make the argument maybe even in the top 10, but I really like what Sean Payton's doing over there with him. And then our guy, J.K. Dobbins, 60-plus rush yards. It's been a tough career for J.K. With injuries, we just talked about it. I like him, playing an impact in this game. We don't usually see high-scoring games on Thursday night football.
That's right, especially in division.
Yeah, but I think with this one, it's just there's too much. The Raiders' defense is just too suspect. The Raiders team in general is just too suspect. And
Yeah, I can see a high-scoring game there as well for a lot of different reasons, and one of my best bets will kind of illuminate one of those things. I have Ashton Genty.
Ashton Genty.
Anytime touchdown.
Okay.
Plus 100.
Plus 100. Okay.
Plus 100 for anytime touchdown. Here's another one. I have Geno Smith over a half of an interception. You can get it at minus 175, which lets you know where that's it started there or plus 137. I like the minus 175 for over, and Cortland Sutton over 56 yards in tonight's game.
Yeah, I mean, my poor guy Geno. I feel so bad. It's just. It's like Unk hanging up at this point.
I know. That's tonight's action there in the NFL on Thursday night. Keep it right here on Southeast Sports. Plus, we will close the show here on a hump day. Closing up shop here on the first day of the first show after the College Football Playoff Committee rankings were released. We started the show talking a little bit about what we saw from the committee rankings and vis-a-vis the AP poll there, but obviously we left some meat there on the bone to chew on here in our final stages of this show. You're adamant. You still think that there's a good chance history will be made with one conference being able to dominate this year?
History will be made. The SEC will get 5 teams into the college football playoff, and I have the path to that right here.
All right.
Texas, you have to win out, period. And that's why I left that period in there. You have to win out. There's no way, in my opinion, a 3-loss Texas team gets in just because of that Florida loss.
Right.
You beat Georgia. You beat Texas A&M. There is no doubt in my mind that you deserve to be in. I don't care if the ACC people are like, well, no, Texas is bad because they lost to a bad Florida team. No.
Right.
The ACC's getting 1 team in this year.
Yeah.
And that's just the facts. Now, if you're Oklahoma, you need to win out and hope that Texas loses to Georgia or Texas A&M.
Right.
Because honestly, Oklahoma will be the best 2-loss team in college football history, have 5 top 25 wins, and yeah, that Texas loss in the Red River rivalry sticks out a little bit, but still, you could forget about it. Vanderbilt, you're going to need a lot of help. You're going to need a lot of help, and honestly, it really is unfortunate because I really wanted Vanderbilt to make the college football playoff. It's just that loss against Texas, you just could not come out flat.
Right.
And I don't see – I mean, you could win out, and Texas and Oklahoma both lose, but I almost think that I might even need to add that Notre Dame needs to lose to Pitt.
Yeah. And Notre Dame's always going to throw a little interesting wrinkle in this whole thing. Before we close out, we'll close out on an apology note.
Apology
after the Ryder Cup. What happened here?
Yeah, so as I'm sure we're all aware at this point, back in the Ryder Cup in September up in New York, this guy on your screen here got heckled a little bit by the fans. You know, the fans trying to give that American home turf advantage, and honestly, at some points. Probably went a little bit too far. But the PGA of America's Derek Sprague issued an apology to Rory McIlroy. He wrote an apology letter that Rory said he wrote him an email, and Rory said it was a lovely email.
Yeah.
Basically saying, hey, like this isn't cool. The fans should not have done this. And honestly, we got to the point where some people were like, man, we shouldn't even have the Ryder Cup at all.
Which wow!
What are we doing?
No, that is ridiculous.
If we want to grow the game, look, I love that golf is growing right now.
Right.
The way to kill the game is to kill the Ryder Cup.
Yep.
Like there's just team events in golf are so good for the sport, and that's why I feel like LIV at first was like a breath of fresh air, and now we've seen LIV kind of taper off a little bit. Now they just recently announced that they're going to switch from a 3-day event to a 4-day event to mimic the PGA with and the OWGR rankings because they're like, well, you guys don't play 72 holes, so how can we
rank you? Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense for those that love the game and keep up with the game, because I think that whether it's college golf, LIV, or the Ryder Cup, there is something to team golf that really makes it special, in my opinion. And you hate for fans to cross that line, but it's good to see that there's some graciousness there on the back end.
Yeah, and I mean, I love watching individual majors, but there's something about the President's Cup, which is going to be played in 2026, and then the Ryder Cup every other year. I just love that we have 2 events that just offset each other in offsetting years, so that way there's always at least one team event. But we've got the TGL coming up, and that's going to tee off in just about a month from now. It'll be interesting to see the changes here in year 2.
Is that Jupiter, Florida, right?
Yes, in Jupiter, Florida.
Yeah, once again, back there. It's always an entertaining event as far as on television goes, and we'll see if, once again, we'll get another great product this year. Thank you so much for joining us here on Southeast Sports Plus. So we will see you next time.